This is how we ride. This is how we do.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and today's subject is gonna be real. Now, there is something that is definitely bothering me, and it should bother you too. And I'm just gonna suggest that you make an adjustment to the way you attune yourselves. I say, NASCAR is nothing but a bunch of Johnny Manziels outpricing the Tom Bradys from racing. You've heard me say this all the time. And it's being allotted to how NASCAR is so expensive to race in that all you have to do is have money and talent to make it up there. And for the guys who just have talent but no money, they don't go up there. They are in dirt racing vehicles and short track asphalt racing vehicles. The Tom Bradys and Aaron Rodgers are out here racing with all the talent in the world, but they don't have the money to go race the Johnny Manziels and Tim Tebows. And when I say Tim Tebow, you have to understand, people like to put these kids in go-karts at younger ages and just give them laps. Some people say, oh, he just needs laps, and give the excuse train. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's nobody who wanted to pray to God, sing a choir, beg morning and night to be a great thrower of the football than Tim Tebow. We witnessed it. Practicing at 3 a.m. in the morning till 9 in the working out, doing everything correct, praying to God to throw the football amazingly. But Tom Brady could walk out of that football field half drunk and stoned and throw the football 10 times better than Tim Tebow could. That's called talent, ladies and gentlemen. You can't teach talent. You cannot do it. But you can buy speed in racing. You can buy opportunity in racing. And you can also outprice Tom Brady. So I try to stand up for the people who are less privileged in the motorsports industry. Now, something you have to understand when it comes to Bubba Wallace, and oh my God, the flames in the eyes just went up, that you have to be a little less of an asshole when it comes to Bubba Wallace and saying he's only in there because he's a black guy. There's a lot of people only in there because they have money. And I would say Bubba Wallace is in the top third of racing talent in the NASCAR roster when you equate everybody. I'm not comparing him to dirt racers, trust me right now, because I don't think he can win a damn street stock race at your local racetrack. Dallin Murray would whoop Bubba Wallace's ass from fucking Sunday to Sunday night praying to God and Allah. It wouldn't even be a joke. It would be a lap him in 10 laps. But when it's in comparison to the entire NASCAR roster, Bubba Wallace is one of the better drivers. He's in the top 3%. He won in a truck at Eldora against all your dirt guys. It ain't easy to do that. Bubba Wallace can drive. We're talking about on-track opinions today. Not that off-track shit that you're still hung up on. Now, when it comes to Bubba Wallace in the African-American community, I made a point over the weekend in Chico, California, to a guy. And we were talking about the pricing in racing and all this stuff, the Tim Tebow analogy, all this stuff. And even how it's a microcosm situation in the sprint car and dirt track racing world, because it's millions versus 100,000 versus a local and a national driver. That's why I pay attention to local talent in the dirt racing world as well, and not just focusing on the national talent, because I recognize that a local talent is a Tom Brady potentially as well. And some of these guys in the outlaw and late model scene at the top, there's a few of them that could be replaced by there are a few Tim Tebows and Manziels out there that could be replaced with some of these local Rodgers and Brady's that could do better. So there's a microcosm in the dirt world itself because of money and the money factor. I was making this point. And I was saying people hating on Bubba Wallace and all this, you got to understand that the African-American community has no generational wealth. And generational wealth is how most local racers are even involved. How many racers do you know out there, their dad or their mom or their grandpa or whatever owned a little tire shop or owned a body shop or owned anything Name it. We're talking about local, your body shop, tire shop. We're talking about national, big industries, trucking companies, stuff like that. So it's all based on generational wealth. So when you look up the history of how African Americans were treated in this country, there was no opportunity to build generational wealth at this time. Now there is today, it's slowly coming about. That's why we're seeing more different races involved in racing, because some of the actual racist laws that were instilled and battles that were faced in recent history, grandpa, daddy lives, are just now being broken. And there's some people that have enough generational wealth to put their kids in positions to be a race car driver. If the racing world was set up to where you could just be a 30-year-old sprint car and modified driver and get some fame and recognition, and you could work your way up and get a job at 18 and build a career that's respected and loved, like racing used to be when it operated, that would be great. I'm fighting for that. I'm fighting for you Tom Brady's and Aaron Rodgers locally, who are in that age range of 25 to 35, who had to bust your fucking ass to get your race car. But that's not how you get fame and recognition in the racing world. The Tyler Carpenters get ignored. And even he had a little bit of generational help. Freddie, right? So what I'm trying to say here is, when one black guy makes it to NASCAR, your unfair judgment of his racing ability is bullshit. Okay, there's another word for that. But if you go and learn the histories and how things are actually economically set up, this is where you go to college and they push people out, and they're psychotically left or right, and white supremacy and racism isn't hating somebody based on the color of their skin. It's called a socio-economic complex, because you can see it, because of how the laws and things that were wrote up and how people were treated. You wasn't going to build no generational wealth as a minority in America, and that's why we don't have a lot of multiple ethnicities in racing, because there's not a lot of generational wealth in other ethnicities that are interested in racing to begin with, because it's so expensive. I'm about racing drama, on-track drama, this guy versus that guy, talent on the track. Bubba Wallace, you can't outrun 90% of the short track racing world. Every local track has a guy in a class that is better than you in that class on that track, and probably could be better than you with the same opportunities. But in that small roster of NASCAR, those 40 guys, 30 guys, these rotational 46s, in my opinion, Bubba Wallace is in the top third of those drivers. Go read down the list. There ain't much to pick from. They're just a bunch of fishes in a little pond. Out here in the dirt world, it's a bunch of sharks running rampant. Out here in the ocean of the dirt track racing world, oh buddy, they can't survive out here, I promise you that. Y'all couldn't survive out here. And out here in the dirt racing world, there's more opportunities for people of different creeds and colors, because it ain't all about the money, the multiple millions of dollars. You gotta have a little generational wealth, but you can work your way to being a 30-year-old in a street stock modified or sprint car. You can work your way there. You can't work your way there to be a multi-millionaire cup racer at 20 years old. You can't mow enough damn yards. Good luck getting to NASCAR with your multiple millions of dollars that you needed if you're going and getting a minimum wage job. You know what I'm saying? So you generational wealth people, you might want to think about it. I'll give you some facts. Let's see how you handle it. Think about it for a second. Think about what I had to say. Think about it just a little bitty bit, because you might want to second guess what you're cheering for or against.
This is how we ride. This is how we do.